That was his residency. As long as the president is in office, he's in the House, and they're in office. So, with the 25th Amendment, this is how the Vice President gets his powers, his roles, his capabilities. So, the 25th Amendment, it was created, and then passed in 1967. And in Section 1 states, in case of the removal of the President from office or of his death or resignation, the Vice President shall become President. So if in any case where that situation happens, the Vice President must assume that position. He has to pick up the mantle, either through tragedy, through loss, or through resignation or removal. The Vice President will then, of course, assume that role as President. So if in case any presidential successions, if when we talked about how presidents many have died in office, we have seen 8 presidents died in office, which first one was William Henry Harrison. The second was Zachary Taylor, Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, William McKinley, Warren Harding, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and John F. Kennedy. So, majority of these were natural causes, passed away naturally. 2 of these were, of course, assassinations. JFK and Abraham Lincoln were assassinated. And the other president that was left office and Vice President assumed the role was President Nixon. Of course, he had to resign because of the Watergate scandal. So what happens if the Vice President leaves his position? In the Second Amendment, the creators of the Second Amendment in 1967 were a lot of foreseeing members there who created this amendment. They saw the ifs, ands, and maybes of the future. So Section 2 states whenever there is a vacancy in office of the Vice President, the President or the President himself or herself shall nominate a Vice President to take office upon confirming by the majority vote of both houses of Congress. So so happens we have this gentleman, Agnew, Spiro, can't remember his first name, Spiro Agnew. He, of course, he resigned from office. So in that case, this was after the fact that this amendment was created. So we had some kind of established rules and capabilities of knowing exactly what to do. Before this, of course, that was good foresight. Thank goodness that, of course, something this had created. If it wasn't the Vice President leaving the office, nobody probably wouldn't know what to do after the fact, how would that happen, and what to do after. So, if y'all can see here, the line of succession. If y'all can remember from a couple weeks ago, we had the web quest that had y'all look at 4 different line of successions from the Vice President to the pro tempore and so on. This is the continuation of the line of succession. So we have the Vice President, the Speaker of the House, President pro tempore, Secretary of State, Treasury, Defense, Attorney General, Interior, Secretary of Interior, Agriculture, Commerce, and so on. So this line of succession was created, of course, just in case something tragic does happen, something ill intent through natural disaster is, of course, your tragedy, or through ill intent through a terroristic attack, where all these members are in a certain location at the Capitol or at a certain event. There's always somebody that is chosen as a designated survivor that's somewhere far away. If in case a tragedy or a terrorist attack happens, kills every single member, kills all 17, but the Secretary of Homeland Security is elsewhere, a couple miles away, he ends up assuming the role as president because of the fact that this line of succession secures somebody having a position, having that position filled, just in case, of course, that disaster, that tragedy, they need somebody to have that position filled, to then remain in control and rule the nation after the fact. And if in case that you have all these members, of course, all the secretaries, and then they have their families with them, everybody, God forbid, everybody passes away. There's usually in every agency is a next person on the ladder, the second of the higher up. Everybody passes away. Essentially, when the tragedy does happen, everybody's bumped up along with the designated survivor is bumped up to that position. So then to remain balanced. So even though, so let's say the Secretary of Education was designated as that designated survivor, and this incident happened where everybody lost their lives, the Secretary of Education is not going to go become president and be clueless. They're going to have the people who are next in line, basically in each and every department, to help them out. And you have, of course, all the military branches, the generals and military branches, the lead, the U.S. Armed Forces leader to help them out. If in case something does happen, we all have a contingency plan in place that was designated as well to assume the worst, but hope for the best. So, if y'all look at the board and see your responses, why do you think there is a line of succession? What is the benefits of that? And how do you feel about that as well? All right. So some of y'all responses. So one student said, in case something bad happens, there's a certain person we know who is in charge next. It's good because it is productive to know that we have people on deck to serve that position. So, of course, every person in that line of succession knows and is briefed and given, hey, you have this title, you're a secretary, if in case you may be chosen. So, say Matthew and Tanner. Matthew is Secretary of Agriculture. Tanner is the Secretary of Defense. Both of y'all will be briefed almost probably the same time. If y'all being elected, somebody will come to your position or your location and say, hey, just in case, just to let you know, something does happen, we will choose maybe you or Matthew for this issue. And at any given point, it's closed between y'all two and whoever else. I may be a lower, so I might be the Department of Agriculture, the next in line, like the second in leadership. I don't know, you may be chosen on a certain day. So to say, inauguration, new president happens, Gage becomes president. And of course, I'm next in line underneath the Secretary of Agriculture. I don't know in this inauguration, if something does happen, I don't know you, Tanner, or is the person that's designated as the line of succession if something happens. It's to ensure kind of anonymity and confidentiality Even though I have am a person of position in a certain higher power, I'm not that secretary. So even though I might be the one next up in line, if in case my superior does pass away in an incident, I don't know if he's the one that's hidden away or if it's Tanner. So like, it just helps out. Even though will have a position of power, it just helps out so that somebody does decide to do a terroristic attack on a certain location, all those members there, nobody can kind of I can't get grabbed and hood get thrown over my head and then me disclose, oh, I know it's Tanner. So it just helps extra security, extra safety, and ensures this person is secured and guarded, regardless of his ranking. It's all in that manner. It's all equally the people there. The Secret Service. If regardless of who is the person in line, it could be the first person suddenly disappears. He's actually the next in line. He's the designated survivor, or it could be the 8th person as designated survivor. These Secret Service members know he could be president, so he is in their eyes president. So they will do the utmost, as much as they physically possibly can, throw themselves in front of a bullet to save your life. Because if something does happen, you will be president. So they ensure that's a high security type of procedures. So, I like this response. To maintain a nuclear deterrent potentially even during a crisis, and to also prevent claimants to the presidency in cases of the ultimately death. I like that. Untimely death. I can't read. Thank you. So, yeah, it basically is like a nuclear deterrent. So if someone not trying to like jump for control, like we have our old monarchy counterparts, where back in the Middle Ages, the king will be in the front line as well as the men. King's on his horse. There goes his head. The fastest person to grab that crown, I'm president. Woo! Like that. So that avoids everything like that. That havoc. I see you smiling, Joe, for a second. So I see that havoc. They